4 years ago. You remember me? I said, well, how much did you weigh then? I said, well, I was about 80 pounds, but you went out 400. And I know you know about weight. Teach me how to lose weight. I told you this how to hold right. Have you ever seen a fat one? Ain't no fat one. Don't do what they do. Just follow what they eat. Huh? You have never seen a fat hole or old fat person. And you can stop that overnight. Just say, gain me weight. I don't know why I ain't eating nothing. You know somebody got you tell me, you know what God put that there for? That's where the doo-doo is. That's the garbage can. And somebody said, ooh, you put that on. And y'all got it. I hear doo-doo. Ain't nothing there but doo-doo. Go somebody and sit on the ass, fool in your ass, and see if you can get down or doo-doo. So anyway, they got a bucket. Inside of this whole road here, they don't want us to put the drag on the elephant. No, ain't nothing in there but some shit. Now, I'm sorry. Here. I want y'all to hear this one. Now, we're going to make like this one a prostitute that we can. And then the same song, which is mama, who's singing in church. Yeah, no, you get there. You get there. I want no, ladies. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. Let's say the hope. That's your mama sitting in church calling herself a hoe. Now you see what you're doing? That saved a hoe like me. How do you learn your ABC? Repeat. And then if you listen to blues song, a baby that left me, and then you get mad, you've been programmed. Since you're a little child. Huh? You hear me? Baby that left. I ain't never listened to no blues song. Then all these niggas out there listening to jazz, Miles Davis and all that. That just show you how they switch that old nasty male thing into your head. Miles Davis. Nina Simone comes out of a whole state. Mississippi, goddamn. You ain't heard one of them niggas in your life say nothing negative about the South. But then you hear. Find something Miles Davis said about segregation. Whole thing. And then Billie Holiday, way back before the Depression, sang, you white men hanging black men by trees, you ain't never heard a black person say straight that, except for one. But y'all leave and think you so here and think you so here. So again, you take one more. Yeah. What can we do to teach the younger kids that the civil rights movement existed and that you have to continue that legacy? They teach you the damn thing. You're not doing it. You're not doing it. When I thought I was playing, if you was doing it, somebody said, "Name that we just so I'm doing it with you." This is fallacy. Huh? This is fallacy. Huh? Black men. 4% of America's population, almost 500,000 people, 98% of prostate cancer is black men. Why? Because of white racism that stripped me of my manhood and I think I can get it back to yours. You can laugh if you want to, but you need to laugh to think about black men, 4%, 98% of prostate cancer. What you like? Huh? Okay? Women, 6% of America's population. 94% of 512 is black women. Why? Because God didn't tell you to put parents. Ask the old folks. We never heard of five doors when we was little, because y'all wasn't wearing proper. Huh? If you had lip, if you had, let me see your finger. If we had nail polish on that, and you was on your way home and had an accident, fractured your skull, bullying, I think I have to take that shit off you. Huh? You hear me? That's how poison it is. Now you put it on your children. You hear what I'm saying? That's the, how you gonna teach me? Even if you teaching me wrong, you can't teach me if you don't know. That's what I'm saying. They got you believing you know. What you talking about? And you go over it again. Number one, 512 black women. Second high, Jewish women. What you got about? Nappy hair. That's all. I didn't make your hair. Never God made it. And you think God needs you to improve on it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes in the body, 9 planets in the universe. God made that. Huh? Okay? Now, you had a brand new Rolls Royce outside. And you look out the window and saw me with a little bitty pin punching a hole in it. How would you feel? Not good. So God made you, and you punch a hole in your ear and put shit in it. How you think God feels? I made something that nobody can make. Huh? And yet you're going to destroy it because the racist system told you. That's what we need to do. Then you should know something's coming. See black folks, white folks, through their tongue. You pinch your tongue, you know how that hurts. And somebody can put a screw through it and you don't know what that's about. It's over. Huh? But you don't even know that. It's over. Huh? Man, white folks, gang, y'all talk about Trump, but you didn't talk about George Wallace. Those of you who was born and came up north and did the same thing he did, but he didn't have orders, so they shot him. Huh? That's what this is about. Just be still and listen. Huh? You got children? 2 days old. You and your folks in one room, they in another room. You knew if they was happy or sad, and they couldn't talk. Trees, you go outside in the trees, it's blowing. I better get out of here. Storm, tree has a funny way of talking. God don't talk. That's why it says be still and listen. Huh? Be still and listen. So you got a check on okay, let me tell you what to do if you want to get that money. If you want to plant, go to the trunk and you back and you have to plant the seed, right? So when you get home, then all y'all, if my mama told me don't use God's name and thing, and she had used to be God damn. God means power. Damn is damn up something when you have a baby. Damn up when the water there, and then it blows, and then an army on the planet. They can put something between your legs and make that baby stay there. Huh? But the next war, go bigger, destroy the planet. Only the God who put the planet here to destroy the need of government, some ignorant, murdering me. Okay, see how it goes? Okay? And now here's what you do. You check your check. And you write yourself $1 billion check. Plus, then you fold it up and put it in your pocket. And as long as you don't take that damn check to the bank, it's good. You take it to the bank, you're just going to jail. You hear what I'm saying?
Disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
give me a check now? Huh? Why would I assume you gave me a bad check? So I can go home and go to the thing. I said, they got some cash to check old lady's wife. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. But then you got to act like a millionaire. When you say I am broke, God's name is I am. That's using his name in vain. You can't use God's name in vain. Say I'm broke, I'm tired. He can never be that, or she can. Huh? Now when you understand that, that's the doctor gave me the worst form of cancer you can find. Any of y'all remember that?
Disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
To the real God. You like it? Feel you. Versus first one will say you feel you. But it's okay to have the truth. Are you crazy? I'm a jealous guy. Well, I got you too. Not you. If I was jealous, you ain't crazy. More people die in the summertime, men and women, over jealousy. And now you tell me God, that he's jealous God of her? So when I found out I had the worst form of cancer in there, I wasn't afraid. I go back to the Catholic Church. You ever been to Catholic Church? When I was there, they didn't have English. And y'all remember that? They spoke in Latin. Segregated church, are you crazy? Huh? Segregated school, Catholics. So I went in there and walked over the road with my friend. You know what? Cause you been there. I thought it was feed. I wanted you to get some meat. When I saw that priest walk out there, but that smoke, I said, this is barbecue. White folks don't know their communion one time a month. You know how much you have to sin to have it every day, every hour? Huh? Catholics running there, Father Mary. I need you to forgive me. I killed 12 people last night, and you got to do it quickly. I got 32 to kill. I knew it. You been there, you see it? Oh, when they give you that communion, it's a wafer. Open up, take it, look like it's gold. Got you. Look like it's gold. You know what I'm saying? Open it up. Comes over on a tray pack. Pray. And you want to go to niggas in the church. You need to go to a Black Baptist church. We have it once a month. And ain't no waste. So fine. The cheese and shit. And then after you check that out, there's 3 of y'all in the church, you hit it, it breaks 3 ways. It was 10,000. You hit that one crack, it breaks 10,000 ways. That's where the power is. But somewhere, when you leave here knowing nobody can take a damn test. You can burn the book can't burn you, but they taught you to be scared of what's in the damn book. Are you crazy? That's you. Hair growth. Huh? They don't have nothing to do on the damn book. Huh? You hear me? So that's what you have to somewhere. So again, I just say, y'all have the power. They say the children, you know, but America go to war, do they get children? Huh? They get entertainers? They get comedians? No. They get cold-blooded soldiers that killed Jesus. When them crackers killed Jesus, they told the niggas like me to call it a good day. I call it a good Friday. You crazy? Huh? You crazy? Look something. Somewhere. So like I said, when I was in the military, I would leave you with this. And that friend said, you captured by the enemy, give them number, name my serial number. Huh? You ever seen dog tag? That has your name right your serial number. They could get that much information if you was dead. So y'all ain't gonna give me nothing to negotiate with this? I mean, I'm over here trying to kill him, his family and everybody. He catch me or she catch me, and you tell me I can't tell him no more that he can get off of here? I say, no way. 50,000 niggas said, yeah, we understand you, baby. I said, well, I don't. This nigga don't speak for me. And I told that white cap, then he bought this one. Well, you're un-American. I don't even know what but I tell you one thing, I can't be un-American. I've been in here 3 days, and I told you. So when you call the Pentagon today, you tell them. Put on our records. If Dick Gregory ever get caught, change all you used to be secrets. So there's something about a chunk pouring hot water down my back, sticking pins in my eyeball, smashing my fingernail. I tell her what my mama is. If she don't understand, she don't understand when that hot water hit her. So again, to your question. You know what I mean? Niggas think honky is racist. Cracker. If you work these levees like I did during the floods, and that sun hits your back here, that's where the nerve center is. I'm too dark for you to see it turn red. Huh? And all at once, you have a stroke. Raise me crack. Honky. Now, if I gave y'all 10 years to find any racial conflict to honky, see, prostitutes would have been for the white men. I know that shocks you. Me and you was just slaves. You didn't have no job, I didn't have no job. We got down every night. That means no money. Huh? This was free. Where you gonna get money? You ain't got no job. And then all the work we got free. So when I tell CBS, St. Louis, prostitutes for the benefit of white folks, what do you mean by that? You mean y'all want y'all get I'm getting them to come home free? Pussy wet? Pocket full of your money. And you can frown if you want to, huh? You need to frown when they be teaching you all that bad shit in there. Huh? Now watch this here. Here's what happened. No, that don't work like that. That's for me. Now watch this here. Watch it close. Huh? Watch it close. All the bad stuff. So, prostitute was located.
Disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
cities. So when the big, powerful white folks came in, they were looking for what they don't want nobody to see. That was Richard Pryor. That's what we found out his mama was the hoe and his grandmother was the whole house. And that was a pride symbol for black folks. I see powerful white men coming. Huh? When I went to college in Southern Illinois, biggest whole house with a 100-mile radius was all hatchet, where blacks couldn't come in there. So what happened is, when they pick them up and take them 40 miles, they get in front of the house and honk the horn. Honk, that's what that is. I'm here. And y'all went out here with all kind of PhDs and WDs. if you're born and know the temple. So again, I just say y'all enjoy yourself. Here's mama. Let me say something. Yeah, come on. No. Y'all don't know or you will know.
I am Jeffrey Thomas. I'm a judge at the Wayne County Circuit Court for the last 21 years. As attorney for 16 years before that. I'm on the nonpartisan ballot, November 8th. The nonpartisan ballot. That's where all the judges are listed. And I'm listed for judge of the Supreme Court. Restorative justice. Restorative justice. More drug treatment courts, more mental health treatment courts, more veteran treatment courts, and treatment courts for victims of human trafficking. Deborah Thomas on the nonpartisan ballot this November. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bless you. We pray for yourself. Don't forget, do the same thing with your check. Well, when you go on the Neiman Marcus, walk in there like you're going to buy it. Come in and get me different shoes. I love you.
So you want to get better with girls. I get it. You want a hot girlfriend, but you just don't know where to start. Trust me, I've been where you are. I used to look like this. I know, it's really, really bad. Back then, I suffered from crippling depression, terrible anxiety, alcoholism. I was insanely overweight. I had no idea how to attract a woman into my life. That was 5 years ago. Since then, I have completely dedicated my life to learning how to go out, meet, and attract the women I want when I want. Now, I've uploaded in the last year alone over 200 videos teaching you guys how to do exactly that, how to go out, meet, and attract beautiful women into your life, and they're all available for free on my YouTube channel, Evolution Daily, and all you have to do is click this button in order to subscribe. I look forward to having you guys over on the channel. Make sure you hit the bell as well, so that way you never miss out on any of my videos, because I upload every single week. And again, these videos are going to help you learn how to go out, how to date the women that you want, how to overcome social anxiety, how to better all areas of your life. I look forward to getting to know you.
Disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
That was painful. Holy fuck. Deliver the damn thing, man. Stop fucking around. Damn. I just want to do shit like, stop. Fuck you. Fucker. Fuck you.
Being friendly and being a friend are two different things. I think there are many whites who act friendly toward Negroes. The fox acts friendly toward the lamb. And usually the fox is the one who ends up with the lamb shot on his plate. The wolf doesn't act friendly, and therefore the wolf has more difficulty in getting the lamb shot in his plate. I'd like to point out, though, that I say that because it is usually if you study the structure of the Negro community, economically, politically, civically, psychologically, and otherwise, it's controlled by the white liberals, who usually pose it as a friend of the Negro, who actually differs from the white conservatives in the same way that the fox differs from the wolf. Their appetite is the same. Their motives are the same. It's only their mannerisms and methods are different.
I would agree that no doubt there's been a large number of whites who oppose this liberalism and defend the Negroes because finally going to betray the Negroes. On the other hand, I think one can point to a large number of whites who have struggled for civil rights, for equality, and have gotten little or nothing out of it, other than petty bruises. Well, the large number of white students who have gone to the South, for example, working for SNCC and other organizations.
Not working for SNCC or other organizations, but working for the white political machine to benefit by the voting efforts of Negroes.
Okay. I'll be more specific. I would cite Herbert Hill, for example, as a kind of person who has championed Negro job rights, for example, in New York City and elsewhere. He has fought the political issue.
The first time I met Herbert Hill was when they were picketing to stop the working on the Harlem Hospital in Harlem. Negroes for 10 years had to fight the city to get an annex built on the Harlem Hospital. Because in Harlem, you need a hospital more so than anything else. Now people are sick. Thus we do a lot of cutting and shootings and stuff. When we protect the non-violent. And Herbert Hill brought his forces out and stopped the working on that site. This is the first time I understand. Then when work was brought to a halt on a hospital in Harlem, the same Negroes tried to stop the work at the downstate medical center in Brooklyn, which is predominantly white. They were out there for 3 months in the summer. Couldn't stop anything. And I never saw Herbert Hill out there. Now, whenever it takes a stoppage of something that seems to affect the white man, you find the white liberal absent. But when it involves something that primarily will affect the best interest of black people, and black people only, then that white liberal is killed. Herbert Hill is the labor secretary for the NAACP. And if he was interested in black people, he would prepare a black man with the type of knowledge and understanding of the labor troubles involving black people that would enable a black man to sit in the same position as Secretary of Labor or Labor Secretary in the NAACP. I'm suspicious of whites who join Negroes and always have to be in the lead, who always have to be the head, who always have to be at the top in Negro organizations. Those whites who really have the interest of blacks at heart, let them get some advice to some Negroes and stand on the sideline. But don't join the organization and then get at the head of it and pose as a friend of Negroes.
Well, I would defend and more than that, I would say that just because a person is a Negro or a black American does not mean he's going to struggle for Negro rights or for jobs for Negro, anything else. I think that you could point to a large number of Negro leaders who have consistently betrayed Negroes in a whole host of areas.
They aren't really Negro leaders. These are puppets that have been put in front of the Negro community by white liberals. These are parrots that have been put in front of the Negro community by white liberals. You can't name me a Negro leader who has been who has betrayed Negroes, who have not been endorsed, sanctioned, subsidized, and supported by the white liberals.
Minister Malcolm, I'd like to, I just cite one example, the Congressman Dawson, for example, in Chicago. In Chicago, a large number of liberals located in the Hyde Park district have consistently fought Dawson and his details of the Negro, and have also fought some of the people who represent Dawson in the Chicago City Council.
The only Negro I know who is constantly fought, only Negro politician that I know who is constantly fought by white liberals is Adam Clayton Thomas. And they call him a racist because he speaks so bluntly on the race issue. But I'm not, as I said, not consistent with Dawson. in this crooked game of power politics here in America, the Negro, namely the race problem, integration, civil rights issues, are all nothing but tools used by the whites who call themselves liberals against another group of whites who call themselves conservatives, either to get into power or to retain power. Among whites here in America, the political teams are no longer divided into Democrats and Republicans. The whites who are now struggling for control of the American political throne are divided into liberal and conservative camps. The white liberals from both parties cross party lines to work together toward the same goal. And white conservatives from both parties do likewise. The white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful, more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, but the white liberal is the one who has perfected the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as a pawn or a weapon in this political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and the white conservatives. The American Negro is nothing but a political football, and the white liberals control this ball through tricks or tokenism, false promises of integration and civil rights. In this game of deceiving and using the American Negro, the white liberals have complete cooperation of the Negro civil rights leaders, who sell our people out for a few crumbs of token recognition, token gain, token progress.
To others, he's a political leader, a figurehead in the battle between black and white, and yet to more people who care little about sport and even less about politics, he's one of the world's great entertainers, a character, a comedian, and a sometime poet. Here he is in all his splendor. Ladies and gentlemen, Muhammad Ali.
Black people must do something for themselves and not always beg white people to move in their neighborhoods or clean their own neighborhoods. And another thing, when you say integration, it comes under intermarriage too, right? All being together.
Right, sure.
And I'm sure no intelligent white person watching this show, or no intelligent white man in his or her right white mind, want black boys and black girls marrying their white sons and daughters, and in return introducing their grandchildren as half-brown, kinky-haired black people. I'm sure I wouldn't object to that. Well, you wouldn't, but a lot of them would. Well, I'm sure a lot of people would. No, this is the point. What I'm trying to say is this. You don't have it. You say you know, but you don't have it. You really ain't gonna have it. You don't want to show it. You got to say that.
That's not true.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I don't think I'm any different from you, you see.
Yeah, we much different.
I mean, I think society's made us different.
You know we're different. We all together.
Society's made us different.
No, not society. God made us different.
No, we're just human beings. He made all of us.
We all, listen, bluebirds fly with bluebirds, red birds want to be with red birds. Listen when I'm wrong. Pigeons want to be with pigeons. Tell me when I'm wrong. They don't have intelligence, but yet they stay together. We should have more intelligence than them, right? Buzzards are with buzzards. Buzzards are with buzzards. Bluebirds are with bluebirds. They all are birds, but they got different cultures. The eagles like to hang out in the mountains. The buzzard like to fly around the desert. Well, the bluebird like to fly around the trees and the grass. There would be certain problems a buzzard mating with a sparrow, wouldn't there? What? There was certain... right. And we have the problems too. No, I don't see no black and white couples in England or America walking around proud holding their children. That's because society... And going out. That's society's fault. I mean, we've got to educate people around. Well, life is too short for me to be raised catching hell or something like that. I'd rather go and be my own. Have a beautiful daughter, beautiful wife, they look like me, we're all happy, and I don't have no trouble. No trouble. I ain't that much in love with no woman to go through all that hell. Ain't no one woman that good. You understand?
I understand, yeah. I do understand. I understand. I think it's sad that
it ain't sad because I want my child to look like me. Every intelligent person wants his child to look like him. I'm sad because I want to blot out my race and lose my beautiful identity. Chinese love Chinese. They love the little snotted-eyed, pretty brown-skinned babies. Pakistanis love their culture. Jewish people love their culture. A lot of Catholics don't want to marry another Catholic. They want the religion to stay the same. Who want to spot up yourself and kill your race? You a hater of your people if you don't want to stay who you are. You shame what God made you. God didn't make no mistake. He made us all like we were.
I think that's a philosophy of despair.
Despair.
I really do.
It ain't no despair. Number one, can't no woman. Let me tell you something. I want to tell you. Listen, no woman on this whole earth, not even a black woman in Muslim countries, can please me and cook for me and socialize and talk to me like my American black woman. No woman, at last, is a white woman, can really identify with me and my feelings and the way I act and the way I talk. And you can't take no Chinese man and give him no Puerto Rican woman and holler about we're in love and you emotionally in love and physically, but really they're not happy because she's gonna hear some Puerto Rican music, he's gonna hear some Chinese music, and they're gonna be clashing all the time. It's just nature. You can do what you want, but it's nature to want to be with your own. I want to be with mine. I love my people. That's all. I don't hate nobody.
Bam! Right to the ground. Ooh. That looked bad. Just right into the ground. Nice to know.
Well, on Thursday, October the 3rd, the New York Tribune, in an editorial, pointed out in Boston, in an article called The Civil Rights Iceberg, they pointed out how Kennedy had realized that beneath the water, the civil rights whole problem was political suicide. Because in his own hometown, the head of the Board of Education, a woman named Mrs. Hicks, was running against the NAACP philosophy, and she swept aside all other opposition. The whole white community supported her in opposition to the NAACP's desire for integrated schools, integrated housing, and otherwise. So I say that to say this, that even the Jewish community, which is supposed to be pro-liberal, went against the NAACP. Whites are against integration in practice, but they're for it in principle. So the only solution is separation. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this can be brought about simply by letting our people be exposed to the truth about ourselves, about the white man, about our history and our condition in this country. And once we are exposed to the complete truth, those things about things as they actually exist in this country, the masses of black people will choose complete separation from this entire system, political system, economic system, social system, and whatever other aspect or description or adjective you want to attach to it. Let us go back home to our own people, live among our own kind, and solve our own problems ourselves. And if the white man doesn't want us to go back to our own people and live in our own country, then since we can't get along together in peace on this country with white people, let us separate part of this continent, migrate to that separate territory, let the government give us everything we need to establish our own independent economic system and society, and thereby we'll be able to solve our own problems ourselves and prove that we are human beings and a part of the human family and can do for ourselves what other humans have done for themselves. And then we'll be able to stop blaming the white man for what he has done and stop begging the white man to solve our problems. We'll be able to solve our problems ourselves.
Thank you very much. That's it.
Mr. Malcolm, what do you think of Martin Luther King?
I think that any black man who teaches black people to turn the other cheek and suffer peacefully after they've been turning the cheek and suffering peacefully for 400 years in a land of bondage under the most cruel, inhuman, and wicked slave master that any people have ever been under, he is doing those people an injustice, and he's a traitor to his own people. Nobody should teach the black man in America to turn the other cheek unless someone is teaching the white man in America to turn the other cheek. And no one should advocate any peaceful suffering to black people unless the white man is going to practice the same kind of peaceful suffering. What Martin Luther King is doing is disarming the black people of America of their God-given right and of their natural right. And the law of nature gives a man a right to defend himself when he's attacked. And God's law itself gives a man the right to defend himself when he's attacked. So peaceful suffering and passive resistance and all of that stuff is all right maybe in India somewhere, where the people in India outnumber the whites about 1,000,000 to 1. But here in America, when you tell, that's like an elephant sitting down on a mouse in India with Gandhi. But in America, you have the mouse now trying to sit down on the elephant, thinking that he's going somewhere, and it's absurd.
Don't you think that perhaps the idea of nonviolent resistance is a tactic which disarms the white community as much, if not more, than it does the Negro?
No, you don't disarm any white community with any by confining yourself to any particular method. If you want freedom, then you should get freedom, like Patrick Henry said, by whatever method is necessary. If you are not willing to pay the price for freedom, you don't deserve freedom.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, that's all right.
Yeah. Well, it seems to me that actually the basis of distinction here is the distinction of goals. Dr. King's goals are quite different from yours. He believes in integration, complete integration of society.
Well, that's where Dr. King is mixed up. His goal should be the solution of the problem of the black man in America. Now, not integration. Integration is the method toward obtaining that goal. And what the Negro leader has done is gotten himself wrapped up in the method and has forgotten what the goal is. The goal is the dignity of the black man in America. He wants respect as a human being. He wants recognition as a human being. Now, if integration will get him that, all right. If segregation will get him that, all right. If separation will get him that, all right. But after he gets integration and he still doesn't have this dignity and this recognition as a human being, then his problem is still not solved.
Well, isn't this exactly what Dr. King is looking towards, and that is the day when the Negro will be treated with dignity? Wasn't this, after all, the result of the Montgomery bus boycott?
No, because I don't think you can, having an opportunity to ride either on the front or the back or in the middle of someone else's bus doesn't dignify. When you have your own bus, then you have dignity. When you have your own school, you have dignity. When you have your own country, you have dignity. When you have something of your own, you have dignity. But whenever you are begging for a chance to participate in that which belongs to someone else, or use that which belongs to someone else on an equal basis with the owner, that's not dignity, that's ignorance. If I may add, for instance, King and these others will say that they are fighting for the Negro to have equal job opportunity. How can people, a group of people such as our people, who own no factories, have equal job opportunities competing against a race that owns the factories? The only way the two can have equal job opportunities is if black people have factories as well as white people have factories. And then we can employ whites or we can employ blacks, just like they can employ whites or they can employ blacks. But as long as the factories are in the hands of the whites, the housing is in the hands of the whites, the school system is in the hands of the whites, you have a situation where the blacks are constantly begging the whites, can they use this or can they use that? That's not any kind of equality of opportunity, nor does it lend toward one's dignity.
Well, would you not admit that the situation in the South today for the Negro is better than it was, let's say, 10 years ago?
No, because 10 years ago, the black man knew what his condition was. And today, because of the world revolution that's taking place all over this earth, the black man would be fighting for what he knows is his by right. But the movement on the part of King and the others has done nothing but slow down the militancy that is inherent in the nature of the black man. All over this world, people are standing up for freedom. In this country, these Negro leaders have Negroes sitting down, thinking that there's dignity towards sitting in. I might add, man, how in the world can you say, or can anyone say, that it will dignify the American Negro to beg in or wade in or plead in when the people in Hungary didn't beg in? They were freedom fighters, and they fought for their freedom, and they came to this country, and they were Hungarians, they were communists from a communist country, and right now those Hungarian freedom fighters can get jobs that student sit-ins can't get. They can go and sleep and live in hotels that Martin Luther King himself can't live in. So, and they are recognized and respected because they're fighters, not because they're sit-inners or freedom writers.
So you want to get better with girls. I get it. You want a hot girlfriend, but you just don't know where to start. Trust me, I've been where you are. I used to look like this. I know, it's really, really bad. Back then, I suffered from crippling depression, terrible anxiety, alcoholism. I was insanely overweight. I had no idea how to attract a woman into my life. That was 5 years ago. Since then, I have completely dedicated my life to learning how to go out, meet, and attract the women I want when I want. Over 200 videos teaching you guys how to do exactly that, how to go out, meet, and attract beautiful women into your life, and they're all available for free on my YouTube channel, Evolution Daily, and all you have to do is click this button in order to subscribe. I look forward to having you guys over on the channel. Make sure you hit the bell as well, so that way you never miss out on any of my videos, because I upload
The white
man pays Reverend Martin Luther King, subsidizes Reverend Martin Luther King, so that Reverend Martin Luther King can continue to teach the Negroes to be defenseless. That's what you mean by nonviolence. Be defenseless. Be defenseless in the face of one of the most cruel beasts that has ever taken the people into captivity. That's just the American white man. And they have proved it throughout the country by the police dogs and the police clubs. 100 years ago, they used to put on a white sheet and use a bloodhound to each Negro. Today, they've taken off the white sheet and put on police uniforms. They've traded in the bloodhounds for police dogs, and they're still doing the same thing. And just as Uncle Tom, back during slavery, used to keep the Negroes from resisting the bloodhound or resisting the Ku Klux Klan by teaching them to love their enemy or pray for those who use them despitefully. Today, Martin Luther King is in the 20th century or modern Uncle Tom or a religious Uncle Tom who is doing the same thing today to keep Negroes defenseless in the face of the fact that Uncle Tom did on the plantation to keep those Negroes defenseless in the face of the attack of the Klan in that.
Well, I don't think of love as, in this context, as emotional thought. I don't think of it as a weak. But I think of love as something strong and that organizes itself and powerful, a direct action. This is what I speak in the struggle in the South. We are not engaged in a struggle that means we sit down and do nothing. That was a great deal of difference between non-resistance to evil and non-violent resistance. Non-resistance leaves you in a state of stagnant passivity and deadening complacency, when non-violent resistance means that you do resist in a very strong and determined manner. And I think some of the criticism of non-violence, or some of the critics, fail to realize that we are talking about something very, and they confuse non-resistance with non-violence.
The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to give Negroes a chance to sit in a segregated restaurant beside the same white man who has brutalized them for 400 years. The goal of Dr. Martin Luther King is to get Negroes to forgive the people who have brutalized them for 400 years by lulling them to sleep and making them forgetting what those whites have done to them. But the masses of black people in America today don't go for what Martin Luther King is putting down. As you said in one of your articles, it's psychologically insecure or something of that sort. I forget how you put it. But you didn't endorse what Martin Luther King was doing yourself.
I do not reject his goals of full integration and full equality rights for American citizens. Do you reject his goals?
If you don't think that he's walking on the right road, I'm quite sure you don't agree that he'll get to the right place. And if you would classify his method as psychologically unrealistic, I think that a man's method is psychologically unrealistic, which means the road or the means or the method that he's using, I think as a psychologist, he's usually very doubtful.
I don't think that anyone has ever lived with a nonviolent movement in the South. Montgomery on through the Freedom Ride, and through the sit-in movement and the recent Birmingham movement, and see the reactions of many of the extremists and reactionaries in the white community. He wouldn't say that this movement makes, this philosophy makes him comfortable. I think it arouses a sense of shame within him also in many instances. I think it does something to touch the conscience and establish a sense of guilt. Now, so often people respond to guilt by engaging more in the guilt-evoking action in a sense of drown the thing. But this approach certainly doesn't make the white man feel comfortable. It goes the other direction. Conscience and this sense of contentment.
Nothing will they ever do. They will always talk it, but they won't practice it. And with the Supreme Court, if the NAACP can tell me that they want a desegregation decision for me 10 years ago, but yet the schools haven't been desegregated, as I say, this is a victory with no victory. It's a victory that you can talk about, but it's a victory you can't show. So if you represent the NAACP and you're telling me about this great victory you won for me, when I look at you, I have to conclude that either you have been duped yourself or else you were trying to dupe me. And in most instances where the civil rights struggle is involved, there is no civil rights leader can point to me one concrete deed practical gains that black people have made in the civil rights field in this country, not only during the past 10 years, but during the past 100 years.
I don't think there's any real organization to the riots. I think they grew out of the conditions that I've mentioned all along. And as long as these intolerable conditions are there, as long as the Negro finds himself living every day in a major depression, then every city will sit on a powder keg and can explode over the slightest incident. I feel that killing is a very tragic way to deal with any social problem. There is no violent solution to the problem that the Negro confronts in this country, and this is why I have constantly said that riots are socially destructive and self-defeating. After all, the Negro ends up on the losing end. We can't win a violent revolution. Most of the persons killed in riots are Negroes themselves. The persons who end up not being able to get milk for their children of Negroes because things where they have to live are destroyed. So there's no practical or moral answer in the realm of violence to the Negro's problem. But I do understand the sociological, the psychological, and the economic reasons.
The problem can be solved. First, the white man and the black man have to be able to sit down at the same table. The white man has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of that Negro. And the so-called Negro has to feel free to speak his mind without hurting the feelings of the white man. Then they can bring the issues that are under the rug out on top of the table and take an intelligent approach to get the problem solved. That's the only way that they'll ever do it. We need an action program while we are Muslims, or while we are Christians, or while we are whatever we are. We still need an action program that will eliminate these evils that are in our community. This is what we're trying to do with the Muslim Master Corporation. Do you consider yourself militant? I consider myself not.
Well, I think we have to agree that this appears to be the result of an internal conflict within the black nationalist movement. So I think the first thing that needs to be done is for a conference of goodwill to take place between black nationalist leaders. This is why I suggested a few days ago that the followers of the late Malcolm X and the followers of Elijah Muhammad should sit down at the peace table together, so to speak, and discuss this problem and try to reach some understanding. I don't think, and I'm sure, that nothing can be accomplished by violence. It only leads to new and more complex social problems. I think it is unfortunate for the black nationalist movement. I think it is unfortunate for the health of our nation.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. Who has created the slum and the ghetto that you're living in? Nothing better than.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, then the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has to rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth, he tries to defend himself by saying that Mr. Muhammad is teaching hate. It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate. That's true.
You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively. And therefore, they would suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. And when that plane crashed in France with 130 white people on it, And we learned that 120 of them were from the state of Georgia, the state that my own grandfather was a slave in. Why, to me, it couldn't have been anything but an act of God, a blessing from God, and I frankly and sincerely pray for similar blessings from him to repeat themselves as often as he can spare.
But I take it then you support the freedom-loving attempts of the peaceful marchers in Alabama and these places.
You don't get freedom peacefully. Freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or he says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. And when you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we have been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to stick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hose on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
You got the Honorable Elijah's message yourself behind prison walls.
When I was a Christian, I committed many crimes, and those crimes led to my own imprisonment, and also led to my being very atheistic, agnostic first and then atheistic. And it was only after hearing the religious teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that I became religious and was able to reform myself and rehabilitate myself. But I learned that after trying to reform and rehabilitate myself, that the American white man was more against me then than he was when I was a criminal, when I had criminal tendencies and was trying to carry out or practice his Christianity.
Do you blame Christianity for your crimes?
Christianity is one of the real causes of most of the condition that black people in this country are confronted with. It's the religious concept that Christianity has given Negroes in this country that makes us almost incapable of solving our own problems. The black man in this country has a different religious concept when he's a Christian than the white man has. If you notice, the black man is the only one who will turn the other cheek to his enemy, or who will love his enemy, or who will pray for those who despitefully use him, just because he thinks that's what Jesus wants him to do. Now, the white man preaches the same thing, but he doesn't practice it.
Now, this refusal to integrate, surely it must lead to demands for your own state in America.
Black people in this country have been like a misfit white married to the white man here who hasn't treated us right. And today, since we have given up all hope in ever changing, we want a divorce. We want a complete separation, but we want a property settlement. And we think that the white man, we think that the American government should give us a property settlement, which means part of this country, which they robbed from the Indians with our help, and which they have worked up to make the kind of land that it is today.
Do you think this really practical? Don't you think that the future really lies with a peaceful transformation of the scene?
If the American government, the Supreme Court, the President of the United States, the Congress and the Senate, and all these white liberals have said that they're for integration, and these Negroes haven't gotten any more integration than they have, well, that's more impractical than separation. Practical means that's what you can practice. And if the Supreme Court and the Army and the Navy and the government and the President are supposed to be for integration and you still can't get it, why, good night, you can't get this impossible. But we can get separation overnight because we already have.
Mr. Malcolm, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. I thank you for letting the people over in Europe know what the white man in this country is doing for black people and to get backwards that he's practicing when he accuses them over there of not getting their house in order. 20 million black people in this country have been just as thoroughly colonized by the American white man in a more shrewd, modern way than all of the colonized people in Angola, South Africa, or any other part of this world. But the white man over here hides his own dirt by constantly pointing toward Britain and France and Portugal and these other countries and accusing them of being colonial powers when he mastered colonialism before those countries ever knew what it was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Who is the black man?
The black man in the West has ceased to be black. Not of his own volition, but he's actually been stripped of his blackness. He has been stripped of the language of the black man. He couldn't speak the language of his own people. He had to speak the language of strangers. Today, he speaks the language of strangers. He knows nothing about the indigenous language of his people prior to being brought into the Western Hemisphere. He has been stripped of the black man's name. He has been stripped of the black man's culture, and actually also stripped of the black man's history. And just as a tree without roots dies and becomes dead, when a people becomes stripped of their history or their historic roots, they also become a dead. And for this reason, the condition of the black man in the Western Hemisphere has been that of a dead man. And this dead thing was also dehumanized. The slave masters robbed us of everything that we could use to prove that we were a part of the human family, the black family. And this is the condition that our people in the West are in today.
The struggle in the States between the races has always been bloody, but it has been one-sided. The Negro has been doing most of the bleeding, but I believe he's beginning to feel that bleeding should be reciprocal. It should be done equally on both sides. Everybody should bleed. If the Negro is going to bleed, everybody should bleed. And I think he's beginning to see this. It should be equalized.
The struggle of the colored peoples of the world against the forces of Western imperialism and its agents has been going on for a long time. On the continents of North and South America, in Asia, in Africa, oppressed peoples have been waging a tireless campaign against domination at the hands of imperialists and their insane doctrine of racial supremacy. But at the very moment when the last outposts of colonialist barbarians seem most comfortable, at the very moment when representatives of the self-styled master race feel most secure and certain of continuing their vicious schemes of enslavement, our people are affirming their humanity. We are demanding an end to centuries of exploitation. We are proving that imperialism, far from being invincible, is now on its last leg. Indeed, throughout the world, the colored peoples are mobilizing and uniting their ranks to intensify and to speed up the certain death of colonialism and neo-colonialism. We are pre-final showdown with the well-known enemies of human rights and human dignity. Today, intimidation through fear and the reign of the Ku Klux Klan is facing destruction. And what is the actual situation in the United States, where over 20 million colored people virtually live as a colonized nation under racist and economic oppression?
Well, for the past 10 years, the struggle in America has been confined to what has been projected to the public as a civil rights struggle. And in that context, it has remained a domestic problem. It has remained within the jurisdiction of the United States. And as such, it has been impossible for the Afro-Americans or American Negroes to try and enlist the support of other dark-skinned people who are being oppressed the world over in that struggle. And the difference now in the direction that the struggle is taking from the direction that the struggle has been going in the past, there are many of our people who are thinking more deeply and more broadly and are beginning to see the importance of lifting it out of the national context.
Play my track.
Shuffling your music.
of the domestic context or beyond the jurisdiction of the United States government. And the only way this can be done is by internationalizing the problem and putting it at a level where it can be taken into the United Nations. And then all of the other independent nations on this earth can involve themselves in our struggle and support us. And the only way by of which this can be done, instead of it being called civil rights in the future, we're going to have to label it a human rights struggle or the struggle for human rights. And as such, we can then take it into the United Nations through the avenues that have been set up by the United Nations Commission on Human Rights. We can take our problem before the United Nations in the same manner that the problem of South Africa, Angola, Mozambique, Hungary, the Arab refugee problem, it becomes a world problem. And as a world problem, then the Afro-American or the so-called Negroes will result, because it's not left up to the one who's responsible for it anymore. But it's put at a level where the whole can see that our plight is wrong. It's stood in our past, in the past. It also makes a difference in the leadership of those who have been posing as leaders of our people in America in the past. They can pose on this local stage where Uncle Sam is the master of the show and can prop them up and make them look good or make them look better than they actually are by giving them token gains and building them up an image. But when they step onto the international stage or the world stage, then Uncle Sam can't prop them up anymore. And their ability or lack of ability becomes exposed. And if they can lead us forward, they remain leaders. But if they can't, then they have to step aside and more qualified and bona fide leaders step up from the mass. Then we get faster progress, we get more results.
Malcolm X came from the masses as a genuine leader of his people. He was well aware of the false divisions planted between them, for he himself had overcome many of these artificial barriers to emerge as a voice which raised our strongest demands for freedom and justice in America. This man combined his recognition of the chief enemy of the African and Afro-American people with an objective knowledge of where our strength lay. He talks about the black intellectual, he talks about education, revolutionary education, he talks about the tasks of our women.
Well, in the past, the Afro-American or American Negro intellectual perhaps permitted himself to be used in a way that wasn't really beneficial to the overall Afro-American struggle. But I think today these intellectuals have begun to undertake a new appraisal of the problem, looking at it as it actually is, and are beginning to see it more in the international context and the relation that it has with the African struggle. And the African intellectual is beginning to look at the problem in the African context and see that what might be good in one country, in order for it to be used in another country, has to be rearranged. You take African socialism. Many of the African intellectuals that have analyzed the approach to socialism are beginning to see where the African has to use a form of socialism that fits into the African context, whereas the form that is used in a European country might be good for that particular European country. It doesn't fit as well into the African context. So I think the African intellectual is making that contribution, and he's making it well. One thing that I became aware of in my traveling recently through Africa and the Middle East, in every country that you go to, usually the degree of progress can never be separated from the woman. If you're in a country that's progressive, the woman is progressive. If you're in a country that reflects the consciousness toward the importance of education, it's because the woman is aware of the importance of education. But in every backward country, you'll find the women are backward. And in every country where education is not stressed, it's because the women don't have education. So one of the things I became thoroughly convinced of in my recent travels
is the importance of giving freedom to the woman, giving her education, and giving her the incentive to get out there and put that same spirit and understanding in the children. And I frankly am proud of the contribution that our women have made in the struggle for freedom, and I'm one person who's for giving them all of the leeway possible, because they've made a greater contribution than many of us men. And one of the best ways that they can help is to encourage the man, try and inspire him to be more militant, and turn him away from being non-violent and passive and meek and Uncle Tomish. Make him aware that the black woman wants to see her man be a man, instead of around here using religion as an excuse to be a coward, and some of the things that he's been reflecting here lately.
Freedom by any means necessary is the battle slogan of Malcolm X, for he knew that in America the condition of the vast majority of the 22 million black people is very close to the condition of 11 million Africans under the fascist South African regime. He also knew of the resources of the people of African ancestry outside of Africa. Time and time again, he called on our oppressed brothers everywhere to fight against the type of slavery which the United States imposes on all of us.
Most people, when we say Afro-American, they think only of the Negroes in the United States. But they don't realize that 2/3 of Brazil consists of people of African blood, which means they're also Afro-American, because Brazil is in South America. And in all of these, many of these countries in South America and Central America, and even in Canada, they are heavily populated with people whose ancestors came from Africa. So when you total up the number of Afro-Americans, real Afro-Americans, in the Western Hemisphere, there are perhaps 100 million. And if these people ever unite among themselves, not only is it necessary for the Afro-Americans in the United States to be organized, but it's also necessary for the Afro-Americans in the Caribbean, or in the Afro-Cubans, the Afro-Brazilians. It's necessary for all of them to be organized. And then once they are organized in each place, we have to organize among ourselves, so that the Afro-American in the United States will be working in conjunction in a coordinated program with those who are in Cuba, and those in Brazil, and those in Venezuela, and those throughout the Caribbean, and Haiti, and in the West Indian Islands. And in this way, we actually get strength. And it's not an accident that there's no organization existing in the Western Hemisphere that's designed toward that end. It would be would be a direct threat to imperialism as it really exists, and to colonialism as it exists in the West. And one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. And one of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been hateful to us. We haven't wanted to identify with it. But now that Africa is getting independent and in a position to create its own image, and it's a positive image, those of us in the West look at the African image and see how positive it is. We begin to identify with it. We become proud of Africa, and we become proud of our African blood, our African heritage. And this is what is beginning. Africans in the Western Hemisphere today have developed more race pride, and as this race pride develops, then it has a tendency to make us want to unite together and work together. And your Western imperialists and colonialists consider this to be a grave threat, more threat than communism or Marxism or socialism or anything else. But Africanism is what they consider to be the real threat.
Yes, undoubtedly. One of the major elements at the center of Malcolm X's revolutionary strategy is solidarity, the natural solidarity which must be restored between the Afro-American and his African brother in their common fight against a common enemy.
The Organization of Afro-American Unity sees the only hope for the black man in America in a strong Africa, and the necessity of the Afro-American becoming inseparably linked with the overall program that's existing on the African continent. The two problems must be solved together, and the two forces must go forward together. And so the Organization of Afro-American Unity has a program to link the Afro-Americans with the Africans and the Africans with the Afro-Americans. When I say Afro-Americans, I mean those throughout the entire Western Hemisphere. This is our only hope. Our hope is in a strong Africa. And when Africa is strong, our position in America will be one of respect. But if Africa is weak, we will never be in a position of respect in America. They used to have a saying that one doesn't have a Chinaman's chance. But they don't say that anymore. They use that expression back when China was weak. But now since Mao Zedong has been successful in making China a strong country, the Chinese have more chance than anybody else. So this saying has become outdated. Well, just as it took a strong China to give a Chinese person respect wherever that Chinese person is found on this earth, when we get a strong Africa, the person of African origin or African ancestry will be respected any place on this earth, even in America. But he will not be respected in America until Africa is strong, just as the Chinaman wasn't respected abroad until China became strong.
He was a leader who knew that self-reliance was the only security for lasting freedom and independence. This is why he rejected the claims for white participation in the leadership of the Afro-American freedom movement. This is why he respected the example of the Chinese people in their revolutionary struggle. How did he view the success of China in developing nuclear weapons for defense?
Well, I think it's one of the greatest things that has ever happened, because up until now, the nuclear devices have been in the hands of Europeans. They've exercised a monopoly over the nuclear weapons, or over the ability to produce nuclear weapons. But now the Chinese have evened it. They've equalized it by being successful, by being a non-white or non-European nation, and at the same time developing successfully the ability to produce nuclear weapons. So as far as I'm concerned, it was a very good thing, and I do hope that they are able to build bigger ones and better ones every day, because the only language that the European power, the language of power, and a dark nation has or speak the language that these imperialists understand. And China has developed the ability to be in that position, and as long as she can speak the language that they understand, it's better for the other dark countries.
Yes, men like this live always in the shadow of danger. He was born in white America, but his vision reaches far beyond those limits. It goes deep into the future of the black man.
Today, for the first time, the black people of the West are beginning to look homeward. They're beginning to look back toward the mother continent of Africa, and they're gaining spiritual strength from these roots. The African continent is on the rise, the motherland is on the rise, and our people all over the Western Hemisphere are looking back at this rising continent and the unity of that continent, and it's giving us strength and hope for the future. And for the first time, not only is the black man on the African continent fighting and seeking and fighting for his place in the sun, but his fight is putting the same spirit in the black people in the West, and we are also seeking and fighting for our place in the sun, and we will not rest until that place has been secured.
What's your plan now?
I'm going back to the States first and see how my family is doing. Yes, I've got a family there, and see what develops.
In New York, on February 21st, 1965, Brother Malcolm X fell before the bullets of others. His killers were those whose interests he knew would crumble before the irresistible forces of worldwide revolution against racism and dollarism. Those who directed the murder of our courageous brother demonstrated their crazy belief that the ideas he fought for can be killed. They are wrong, because the voice of Malcolm X was the voice of our humanity. The words he spoke can never be silenced. They are the words and the determination of his people, a people fighting for their place in the sun, and will never rest until that place has been secured.
Fighting for our place in the sun, and we will not rest until that place has been secured.
is Inspector Jim Crow. Huh? Huh? This is Inspector Jim Crow. Very tourist manumission. And fucking Willie Lynch. You got mental setups. What? Mental setups. Mental, like, you know, you're not supposed to think past here. That's what I'm saying, man.
Right? Not now.
Tonight's shocking allegations against the city's top cop. Former Detective Russell Poole has filed suit against the department. Poole says he uncovered dirty cops while investigating the murders of rappers Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur.
I provided the chief with enough information and evidence that would warrant a full probe. And at that meeting, I was ordered not to investigate any further.
They go to drop a dime. They go to jail, they go to jail. They try to see bullshit.
Los Angeles, California. We're driving to meet ex-detective Russell Poole at his lawyer's office. Ex-detective Poole resigned after 18 years on the force when he was prevented from investigating fellow police officers whom he believed to be involved in the murders of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur. Russell Poole is currently suing the Los Angeles Police Department. Russell believes that the whole thing started because Suge Knight owed Tupac millions of dollars in royalties. Tupac was about to leave death row and ordered them, and that was why he was murdered.
Too much to get your spot on. Now you're no longer just a piece in the crowd.
Yep. Hello, Velvet. Russell now follows developments with the case on his computer.
What?
Is he one of your favorites?
Yeah, he didn't even do that. That's on a minute.
Russell was an apple pie, all-American kind of cop. His father, an ex-Marine and ex-sheriff, was his hero and role model. Russell is one of those cops who says he bleeds blue. He's an old-school type of cop.
So it's great we were able to do this finally.
Yeah, well, don't tell Leo.
Did you get that on? Leo'll be pissed.
And do you think that there was a connection between the Tupac Shakur killing and the Biggie Smalls killing?
Well, that's basically what it appears to be, a retaliation. Okay, and I think Suge Knight wanted it to look at.
Oh, Tupac money, correct?
Yep.
He didn't want to pay him, correct?
Had we been able to aggressively investigate,
I played it off like he wanted,
and had the heart to,
like, you know,
connect the two
like,
and do a thorough investigation, I think we probably would have found out.
And why didn't you?
Well, you know, there's a lot of factors, but I think the fact that law enforcement officers were working for death row, and that was a scandal in itself, okay? The fact that law enforcement officers were working for gangsters, known felons, basically organized crime, because it was no secret that Death Row Records was involved in drug trafficking.
Between 30 and 40 police officers, some of whom are seen here, worked off duty for death row. Suge Knight had a lot of power, even within the DA's office.
Suge Knight, to me, was one of the most powerful gangsters around. He was well organized, he had a lot of power, and what gave him the power, he had dozens and dozens of police officers working in his organization. Okay? He also had a DA
that was working on his matters. A gentleman by the name of Larry Longo.
Russell believes that Tupac's murder was organized by Suge Knight to look like a gang killing between the Crips and the Pyrus, also known as the Bloods. It was the night of the Tyson fight at the MGM in Las Vegas. Here he is being congratulated by Tupac and Suge Knight. Prior to the fight, Tupac was walking across the casino when one of Suge Knight's Pyru homies whispered into Tupac's ear that a Crip was standing nearby. This Crip, Orlando Anderson, was supposed to have stolen a death row medallion. Tupac, keen to impress, rushed over and punched Orlando Anderson, knocking him to the ground. Suge Knight joined in with the kicking. It was for this kicking, a parole violation, that Suge Knight would receive 9 years in prison. 2 hours later, Tupac would be mortally wounded fighting for his life. Russell thinks Suge Knight staged the whole casino incident.
He thought he would be able to beat this casino probation thing. He really did. It just backfired on him. There's nothing he can do for his defense, because the whole reason for that setup in the casino was to provide a motive, for Compton Crips to do the hit on Tupac, when in fact Suge Knight's people that he hired was going to do the hit. See, it's very smart. I mean, if you study any of these mafia flicks, it's just perfect.
Who just been shot at?
Tupac?
Yeah.
5 times.
Russell referred us to ex-police officer Hackey, one of the law enforcement officers who worked for Death Row. Hackey was one of Tupac's personal bodyguards. He now operates from here in San Pedro. Ex-officer Hackey works from here as a bounty hunter. He had himself just been released from prison. Hackey was incarcerated for having a trunk full of AK-47s.
So when did you actually get out?
Actually, to be exact, I was released on the 14th of January.
14th of January.
Yeah.
This is Hackey as a police officer in Plumper, Dunkin' Donut days. He was a Compton police officer for 14 years. I asked him if being a police officer and working for a criminal organization wasn't a bit of a contradiction.
I think primarily Death Row Records, in a sense, hired individual officers, who were, in a sense, officers who would, as I say, we see what we don't see.
But isn't that a compromise?
In a sense, most departments have off-duty work policy.
So it's all right to see drugs when you're off-duty and
I can honestly say...
I would say that was compromise.
As a man as my witness
Isn't that the word, compromise?
Based on the statement you said, yes, but I have never seen any drugs.
So you were aware, you said?
I had heard it, but I have never seen anything with my own eyes.
Well, we're going backwards because you were aware about 30 seconds ago.
I was aware of certain things, but I've never seen anything else.
Hackey witnessed heated money disputes between Tupac and Suge Knight. At the time of his death, Tupac was owed over $10 million by Death Row. Just before his murder, Tupac told Hackey and others he'd been leaving Death Row and taking unreleased songs worth more millions with him. Hackey regards these as the real motives for Tupac's murder. He complained, though, that my questions were too vague.
So you think what? You think I should be more specific?
Be more specific and direct with your questions.
Okay, do you think Suge Knight orchestrated the hit? Saved by the pager.
Based upon what I've been told within the industry and based upon what I knew for a fact that was going on, Tupac was leaving the record company. Okay, because Tupac didn't need Suge Knight, he had several other offers. I would have to say, in a sense, that he had...
I got a letter from the government
government the other day. I was in it.
The FBI's war on Tupac Shakur and black leaders, and I wanted to.
Why should hardworking Americans give up the freedom that comes from having...
That same government has over 500,000 troops in Vietnam fighting not white people, but brown Vietnamese.
So it is small wonder that the civil rights movement was also subjected to heavy attack by Hoover. Billions of government dollars were spent in this direction. Many of these activities were not only unwarranted, but of questionable legality. The congressional hearings into the assassination of Dr. King bore this out. 2 FBI agents testified before a Senate committee chaired by Senator Frank Church.
I'm trying to find out what it was that impelled some part of the FBI to pursue Martin Luther King with such an obsession. And what I understood that answer to be is, first of all, it was not any suspicions of the commission of a federal crime. None of the literature showed up a single suggestion that Martin Luther King had committed or was about to commit a crime. Is that correct? That's correct.
Yes, sir, but at this point, much of what was being done did involve challenges to local law. And there's a very strong suggestion that King was seen as rallying the lawbreakers and would-be lawbreakers.
Boss, I saw something you might be interested in. It's a special item on the Securo Serve network. More expensive than the normal stuff, but it'll more than pay for itself on sale. You want to take the risk? Come and make the deal on the Securo Serve network.
We see throughout these documents and the New Left documents that it was taboo to criticize the Bureau and particularly the director.
Well, was he ever charged with fomenting violence? Did he ever participate in violence? Was it ever alleged that he was about to be violent?
That was the very opposite of his philosophy, Senator.
So that it was neither the fear of commission of a crime or the commission of violence. Was there any serious charge that he himself was accountable?
No such charge ever was made.
So that what was left then was a decision on the part of some persons or person within the FBI that he should nevertheless be pursued. And the basis for that apparently was political. A decision that he was dangerous or potentially dangerous to someone's notion of what this country should be doing, and a further theory that the FBI possessed the ability to enter into this field and to investigate and to intimidate and seek to neutralize and indeed replace a civil rights leader that they thought to be politically unacceptable. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the tactics they used apparently had no end. Microphonic surveillance, hotel rooms. They included informants. They included sponsoring of letters signed by phony names to relatives and friends and organizers. They involved even plans to replace him with someone else the FBI was to select as a national civil rights leader. Is that correct?
Yes, that plan didn't get very far.
But it was seriously considered, and Mr. Hoover penned a note to that suggestion commending its authors, did they not?
Yes.
Right. It also included an indirect attempt to persuade the Pope not to see him.
And many other people.
A direct attempt to persuade one of our major universities not to grant him a doctorate degree.
That's correct. After the March on Washington, there was an acceleration. He was defined because of his speech in that demonstration in Washington as the most dangerous and effective leader in the country, and there was a paper battle within the Bureau as to how best to attack him, and he was attacked. After Time magazine named him as Man of the Year, again, the Bureau finds that reprehensible, believes it must attack and destroy. When he was given the Nobel Prize Again, they seek to discredit Dr. King with the persons who welcomed him back from that award. When he began to speak out against the Vietnam War, there's a new crescendo of efforts by the Bureau to discredit and destroy Dr. King.
It is my feeling that the assassination of Dr. King was a part of a conspiracy in the country, and I do believe that some individuals in very high places of our government were involved in this conspiracy. And it is the same conspiracy that eliminated and destroyed President Kennedy, Senator Kennedy, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, and so many other freedom and human rights individuals.
I'm convinced the government was involved at some level. Shut up. And I will never separate the conduct, the attitude of Hoover and the FBI from Dr. King's assassination. I never will.
I think one of the most important things that come out in that investigation was that Martin Luther King in Memphis was in a white hotel, and the FBI admitted that they leaked to the press that Dr. King was staying in a white hotel instead of a black hotel, and it was that embarrassment that forced Dr. King to move into the Lorraine Hotel where he was killed.
There are more questions regarding the FBI's role in the assassination of Dr. King. For example, why was Dr. King stripped of his protection just before he was killed in Memphis? Reporter Les Payne and myself interviewed police officer Ed Ray of the Memphis Police Department, who told how he was mysteriously removed from his security post near Dr. King. However, later, his superior, Chief Holloman, denied doing so.
Why do you feel you were pulled away from your assignment of surveillance that day? Why do you think they pulled you away?
I think because whoever pulled the trigger, I could identify. When there was a complaint from somebody, did we reduce manpower at the Lorraine? Did we reduce manpower in the area?
No. The attorneys general in 1965 had for 25 years authorized wiretaps in a fairly widespread fashion. This was just one. At the very most, the only thing I can think of that I would have done, but I didn't even do that, was go talk to Bob Kennedy and ask him about it. But Mr. Katzenbach, in whom I also had great confidence, without giving me the details, said that it was all right, that he had, that it was not being done anymore, it would not be done anymore, and that there's just nothing to worry about.
I think the issue is the neo-fascist police state mentality that pervaded the intelligence community that is a danger to America to this day.
Malcolm X was kept under heavy FBI surveillance since he got out of prison back in 1953. As he rose to national prominence as the black Muslims' chief spokesman, he became aware that he was under close watch.
Our desire, our prayer, that we can have a peaceful, intelligent rally here this afternoon. But at the same time, we see that they have surrounded us with many of their own agents in uniform and out of uniform.
That surveillance escalated into the infiltration of the Nation of Islam. Personal frailties were played upon. Jealousy arose, and Malcolm was ultimately ousted from that organization. This caused an intense climate of rivalry that set the stage for Malcolm's assassination in February of 1965.
He was really declared a hypocrite at the time. And because of some of the things that he was saying in regards to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may God be pleased with him, a strong position was really taken against him. The ministers began to speak out against things that Malcolm was saying in regards to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, accusations that he had made about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He had accused the Honorable Elijah Muhammad instance of fathering children, etc. And you must understand that at that time, Dr. Elijah Muhammad, to the Muslims then, was held in such high reverence as you would even think of any prophet being held in high reverence. And,
call us old-fashioned, but we don't like large concentrations of weapons on foreign yachts just offshore. You're welcome to keep any supplies you find on the boat on your GPS. Going quiet, going loud, it's up to you.
Take, for instance, one time in the Muhammad speech at that time, the newspaper printed a big article concerning the chief hypocrite. And it actually had a picture of Malcolm's head, rolling or bouncing down the street at the time. And, the way that the picture is depicted, he has little horns on his head, things like this here. So, indirectly, I would say that a very, very strong position was taken against him.
Yes, he's immoral. You can't take 9 teenage women and seduce them and give them babies and not tell me you're and then tell me you're moral. You could do it if you admitted you did it and admitted that the babies were yours. I'd shake your hand and call you a man. A good one, too. But anytime you seduce teenage girls and make them be charged with adultery, make them hide your crime, why, you're not even a man, much less a divine man. So, and this is what he did. He took at least 9 that we know about. And I'm not speculating because he told this to me himself. Yeah, that's why he wanted me dead, because he knew that as soon as I woke up, I'd tell him.
Plan of action was basically what took place. Me and we took seats down in the front. We would have gone. We came early. We would drift into the Audubon. If indeed there was a search, then we could never enter. There wasn't a search, so we drifted in just like we had hoped to. Leon Davis and myself took seats down front on the left-hand side. Benjamin and William, who carried the sort of shotgun, sat right behind us, and Wilbur sat somewhat in the back or almost in the middle. And our plan was, as soon as the brother came out to speak, that Wilbur would throw the smoke bomb to make a distraction, and that Will would fire his shotgun, and that Leon and myself would fire our. And then just wait for the door.
And what I didn't do was I bring before you Mr. Malcolm, and I pray that you and I will listen, hear, and understand. Thank you. Well, I'm waiting.
As in Dr. King's assassination, a police superior has trouble with the truth. He tells reporters that 2 suspects were arrested at the Audubon. Later, official police reports say that 1 was arrested. Also, listen closely as the police official carefully handles the question about police on the scene.
We have 2 suspects in custody now.
Where were they arrested, sir?
I wouldn't know that at this time.
Where were they arrested, sir?
One of these men was arrested on the street by one of our patrolmen close by.
There were no police at this meeting, were there, Inspector?
There were no uniformed policemen assigned inside this building.
No uniformed police on the scene. Does this mean that police out of uniform were there? And if so, why didn't they take action? What were they doing there? This behavior pattern rings a bell of striking similarity with the behavior pattern of the CIA overseas.
The church committee produced cables, demanded and got cables, which proved it traced the CIA's plan to kill Lumumba. Sid Gottlieb got on a plane and went to Leopoldville. Headquarters sent a cable saying use the poison. Gottlieb was couriering for the poison. headquarters sent a cable saying you have to use it promptly because it deteriorates. And they had a plan to try and get it into a toothpaste or give it to him in a Mickey or some social function. And then there's the gap. No cables, no explanation of what happened. Then 5 weeks later, he's beaten to death in an airplane. And unfortunately, the airplane was in the control of people who had agency cryptonams. And the gap of what happened has never been answered. The men who were involved and were responsible obviously aren't speaking out. And there's no papers proving.
So perhaps the same tactics were used against the civil rights movement. Heavy infiltration of the ranks, spread the seeds of dissension, then step back and let the blood spill.
My signature is for this committee to be able to figure out how to persuade the people of this country that indeed it did go. And how shall we ensure that it never happened again? But it will happen repeatedly unless we can bring ourselves to understand and accept that it did go. And I say that as one who worked as a United States Attorney with the Bureau, have enormous respect for its capacities, and through the kidnapping, bank robbery, a lot of other things. But am appalled to learn what if it's correct, the intelligence side of that Bureau was up to for so long.
If we would like to believe that the FBI would do all this viciousness and all of these things to an individual and would stop short of killing him, then we're out of our mind. In America today, if we believe the CIA would deal with foreign assassinations and would not consider it at home, that's like saying the mafia runs crooked gambling tables in South America, but honest ones in America. It just ain't true.
We've seen then how the decade of struggle ended. Many of the prominent figures like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were assassinated amidst an intense climate of hatred that government agencies were acutely aware of. In fact, the FBI contributed to creating the climate of hate. Moreover, the assassinations themselves appear to have been facilitated by an elaborate network of government and police agencies who were watching very closely every move that Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. were making, and then at the same time, they disappeared just as the assassinations occurred. But those are the leaders. What about the students, the troops of the movement? Well, they too are subjected to harassment. This document that you're looking at now shows how the FBI tried to divide factions within the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. And the Black Panther Party was also subjected to heavy, heavy surveillance.
We knew the history of the FBI's infiltration tactics in other organizations, particularly the American Communist Party. There was already a record compiled that showed that the FBI was even in charge of various branches of the Communist Party. So we understood that police tactic of infiltration. There was a situation where, in a sense, white racism was its own victim. Like, for racist reasons, J. Edgar Hoover had not recruited black agents. He had a lot of white agents. And it takes time to train some black agents. In the meantime, those white agents, try as they might, were not able to infiltrate our ranks because the Black Panther Party did not have any white members. And we relied upon people that we knew. And we kept people that we didn't know on another level. And I think this is why we didn't suffer more with them, because they did catch up and start a crash program of recruiting black agents, and they very quickly filled that gap, but it took them about a year to do it.
In the summer of 1978, I interviewed a man who worked as an informer for the FBI during the 1960s. His name is Darthard Perry, also known as Ed Riggs, also known as Bill Perry, also known as Othello.
How were you paid?
The pay was always in cash. Cash, and you would sign a card. It would go like this: a rendezvous or a drop-off point would be picked out either by yourself or the agent. You would meet the agent there, and usually it would be in a vehicle. You get in the vehicle, he would hand you the money. He would tell you first to count the money. He would tell you the amount while you counted it. If the amount was there, he would then bring out a card. On that card would be for the week of such and such. In other words, the week was dated. So-and-so has been paid the amount of. Then you would sign the card, and then the agent would sign the card. The reason for this is that if all of a sudden the IRS became very interested about where you were getting all this extra money from, they always tell them to go back to the Bureau, and the Bureau would have your cards on file.
I see. Were there such things as bonus tips?
Oh, yes.
What were they paid for?
Bonuses were paid for, suppose while you were meeting with, or you were at a meeting with Bobby Seals, Chulai of the Red Army happened to come to the meeting too, which is something which would be a new development. That's bonus time.
In other words, a hot piece of information.
Hot piece, very hot piece.
Did you ever suffer pangs of conscience?
Quite a few times. Quite a few times. I still suffer pangs of conscience. I suffer from the fact that a lot of people trusted me, and I misused that trust. I suffer from the fact that a lot of information that I gave out was the undoing of certain groups or certain people. I suffer from the fact that I'm on the run constantly. I have no real life to speak of.
You have no family life? You have a wife?
No, I don't have a wife. I do have a child. I can't see her that often. I have to stay away from them because once I come around, the Bureau shows up and harassment starts. I have very few close personal friends, no one to really confide in. It's like being on the outside of a glass jar and everything is happening inside the jar, but you're on the outside. You can see it happen, but you can't participate.
Why have you decided to talk to me?
For the simple reason, I think this information should be getting out, should be put out to the public. I think not only black people, but everyone should become aware of what your so-called law enforcement agencies do to so-called enforce the law. Because between you, myself, and the audience, I've seen more felons in law enforcement than I have in prison.
Many would say, well, look, you yourself just got through saying that the DLA was involved in criminal activity. What's wrong with wanting to put them in prison? How would you answer?
I would answer him this way. First off, we have to understand why they did what they did. But I'm not even going to go off into that psychological proof. What I'm going to say is when you become just as bad as the people that you go after, then there's nothing gained and a whole lot lost.
You also were active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, I can, they have a file on every type of magazine.
Nice work. Your technicians are already breaking that down.
They have a file on the music. Music, dance, theater, actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture. To infiltrate, you have to understand. You had a lot of so-called white liberals that were infiltrating the so-called black groups using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
You mean just to understand the behavior pattern of our people?
Oh yeah, I can, Will Heaton can name off some jams of Miles Davis that I hadn't even heard of. He could name off some books that I hadn't even read pertaining to black culture.
Do you ever see agents actually studying the music of...
Yes. I've seen them going over even video portion of cultural events.
Your lab team's crying out to break down a tank for parts, so you're going to deliver for them. Make the collect, and make the drop, and fill in all the details in between.
Okay, Leroy Jones' place, which was done on the thing of tribalism. That's where I first heard the word Kintu, Mantu, Huntu, Hintu. These words, the African continuum. I learned that from an agent. He ran it down to me. They make in-depth studies of the personalities of the people they're dealing with, too, culturally. It always helps. It's a thing of, you can take their culture and use it against them.
How large would you say an extensive collection on our culture would you say the FBI has? Would you rate it as large as a particular library, like the Schomburg Library in Harlem?
I would rate it better. And the fact is that they go into details that we probably would overlook. Will Heaton used to meet me in different places. Will Heaton, that was one of my supervising agents. There is a certain bar in the Los Angeles area where people into black cultural things met. And Will Heaton used to meet me there. And he would go into very long and tiring conversations with some very articulate brothers about culture, African culture, and Afro-American culture.
Tell me about some of the cultural organizations that you infiltrated and what you did.
CASLA, Mafunde, Watts Writers Workshop, which they had.
Watts Writers Workshop?
Yes. Watts Writers Workshop, which was one of the oldest established black writers workshop.
That place was burned down?
Yeah. Bureau had it burned down.
How do you know that?
I know because I anticipated. I did the arson.
You burned down the place?
Yes.
Why did they want to go?
At the time, funding had been cut to the workshop. Had been cut out. But it looked like there was a possibility of a grant being given back to the workshop. And if there was no creators, there would be no grant.
How did you do it?
2 cans of kerosene, Purex bottle, gasoline, and a flare, highway flare.
Why didn't you use more sophisticated stuff?
You're never overly sophisticated. It's too obvious. This way you make it look like, maybe somebody in the neighborhood that got kicked out of theater at one time, got mad and came and burned the damn theater up, that kind of thing. But you were involved in this affair? I mean, didn't it get to you at all? Hey man, I got to you in a great deal. I love that theater. I built the stage. You built the stage? Oh yeah. When I got to the workshop, the stage that had been, the original stage that had been built, needed an extension on it. The original part of the stage was in silver condition. They had no lighting system. I put the lighting system in myself. I put the stage in myself. And that was the stage, man. And that was a theater. A nice theater. Who was the director of that workshop? Harry Butler. Okay.
Some very, very well-known artists supported that workshop, getting ready to it.
Very well-known artists came out of the Last Riders workshop. Quinn Tubman, Yakukoda, Sidney Poitier used to come down there and give a class. Sammy Davis Jr. used to come down there. Quincy Jones used to come there and give music classes. We had our own 8-track studio setup for sound. We had our own sound room there.
Was part of your other activities and responsibilities to study the profiles of celebrities who were supporters of organizations?
Definitely, and especially, like I said, psychological background, weaknesses and strengths. Did he have a weakness for blonde? Did he have a weakness for money? Did he smoke cocaine? Did he smoke marijuana? They even get into, and that's just one thing the Bureau of Love with their sexual background. They have files and files on different black, not only celebrities, but a lot of others, sexual activity.
What would they do with this information?
Oh, that's usually the weakness.
So they would feed to these weaknesses?
Yes.
Did you see that happen?
Oh, yes. Doc Holliday, who is one of the leaders of the BPF, Black Girl Family, which is prison dinner, and the California state prison system. Upon his release from prison, a certain sister made herself known to him at a nightclub. Whereupon he moved in with her, and she took up names, telephone numbers, information, that kind of thing. That lasted for a good 3.5 months.
Was this an unusual thing, or did it happen often?
No, that happened often.
Did you yourself get involved in doing that?
Yes.
Give me an example.
There was a gentleman that was on trial in Los Angeles that belonged to the BLA. That had been busted in a southern state for a bank robbery, but was brought with 2 other people to Los Angeles to stand trial for the machine gun with a police officer in Los Angeles. I was supposed to warn my way into the affections of his sister, and whatever it took to get the information that I needed as far as what kind of defense they planned to use, as to turn this information over to the federal prosecution.
Did you do it?
I got the information, and thank God I didn't have to go through with the actual thing of sexual activity.
What do you mean, thank God?
The sister was rather unappealing.
How did you justify to the organizations in which you had infiltrated yourself that you were living on an $800 a week stipend or on an $800 a week standard of living when most of them were living hand to mouth?
Well, hey, brother, I'm hustling, I mean, hey, man, sell a little this on the side, a little of that on the side, I get over it, that kind of thing. In other words, ain't nobody's business but mine where I get the money. So, everybody took it for granted that I was possibly doing a little dealing on the side. That kind of thing. Then also, everybody liked me for the simple reason that I would do things that I didn't do. I would go out of my way. Like Mafunde would have a pageant and he would come over to do the sound setup for him, and I said, sure, I'll do it for you. That kind of thing. I was really well liked at one time in the community.
Would you say to American citizens that this situation of surveillance and infiltration continues to this day?
Oh, yeah.
On the dimension that you experience?
Probably much larger than now.
Larger?
Oh, yeah. Let me put it to you like this. Each year, everything gradually escalated up more and more. So I figured when I left, it didn't stop escalating. As they say, one monkey does not stop anybody's show.
You mentioned Sammy Davis Jr., who at one time, it was reported, gave money to the Black Panther Party, I believe. Were you ever assigned to look into that?
Yes, I was told to try to get as close to Mr. Davis or to anyone in his office as I could. I used to go up and have real chit-chat, chummy conversation with his personal secretary, Ann, at the 9000 building on Sunset. And I used to bring a Portafax video camera, and I used to go around and videotape the whole office.
You mean celebrities would be coming into his office and you filmed them freely?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they question that?
I'm from New York, his workshop. Yeah, right here, kind of thing. Same thing with the NAACP Image Awards. They were very interested in people like Sammy Davis Jr. There was another black in Los Angeles that they were very interested in because, not Los Angeles, but in Sacramento, Nathaniel Collins, who's attorney for the NAACP. And I know that. And they wanted information on him. Just for the simple reason that he's an attorney for the NAACP. Which makes no sense to me, but must make a lot of sense to them because they use the information.
You've been called upon to testify in Washington. Before who?
Before the Senate Committee. I was called first to testify before the Church Committee. And I did go to Washington, D.C. I did testify to those people. And I want to say right now that the committee was full of smack. They got loads and loads of information. Didn't even use it. Didn't release it. I had tapes that I offered to them in evidence against the Federal Bureau of Investigation with conversations with me and my supervising officer where he's telling me to obtain certain articles from him by stealing. Don't get fingerprints on it. We can really use that. Did you take the weapons over the second set? The Church Committee told me that they couldn't use the tapes because the tapes were gotten by illegal means.
What would you say about the composition of the committee panel?
I can say that for the birds too, because the same people that I was talking about were the same people on the panel with the Church's committee.
What do you mean?
When I came in the room to be interviewed by the so-called people from the Church's Committee, the representatives from the Federal Bureau of Investigation were also in the room.
FBI agents were members of the Church Committee panel.
They were there with the investigator for the Church's Committee asking questions just like the Church's Committee. And see, this is another thing that I find fault with, and this is another reason why I am not going to Washington, D.C., is that, again, I have been asked to come again for the second time. I'm not going again. For the simple reason that when I went up there with the idea that there were agencies investigating the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the Federal Investigation investigating itself.
You're on the lam, almost. Do you have a sense that you're going to be arrested in both prisons?
All right then. That'll keep him busy on the floor.
Eventually, when things come to the head, it has to do that. No other way around it.
What would you say to the citizens who sit and listen to what you've said and have a sense of frustration and helplessness?
There are some agents, the old line agents, who disagree with the tactics that we used during the so-called COINTEL period. But one thing I don't want us to jump off of is that people always talk about, they're talking about COINTEL now so heavily. I'm not talking about COINTEL, I'm talking about a thing called BD, which was better known as Black Desk. The Black Desk was set up for the simple thing of infiltrating black organizations and black groups, whatever.
Where was this Black Desk, or were there a number of them?
There were a number of Black Desks, but the head Black Desk was in Washington, D.C., controlled by Sullivan. And
Was he black?
No.
Mm-hmm. And what was the function of the Black Desks all over the country? I guess there were dozens.
The function of the Black Desk was to monitor activity, social unrest, revolutionary groups, cultural groups.
Okay, we need you to get these arms before they're out of reach. Take our technical aqua and bring down the transport helos. Then it's a salvage job.
As far as I know, yes.
We've seen a number of investigations into the assassination of Martin Luther King. We've seen an extended police trial of the assassination of Malcolm X. What you seem to say substantiates what many black people say out on the street, that government agents or agencies knew that these assassinations were brewing and either participated in them or allowed them to take place.
It would behoove black people, it would behoove all people, really, to question so-called the cut and dry one lone assassin theory. The Bureau and other intelligence agencies are very good at conspiracy. They're very good at setting people up to be killed. They are very good at making innuendos so the person will be killed.
City police don't know about it because they have policemen in there. They don't let black people form anything without some policemen in there. And while I was in the Black Muslim movement, all of the Black Muslim movement, many of the police who were sent to infiltrate us, they're black, would tell me, say, look, I'm a guy, but I have to come. They would tell me. I knew the Muslim movement was full of police. So don't you think anything is going down that they don't know about? The only thing that goes down is what they want to go down. And what they don't want to go down, they don't let it go down.
Something else was used against the students that drove the final nails into the coffin, killing the movement.
What stopped it, of course, almost dead in its tracks, and not by any accident, was widespread and deliberately organized, widespread use of drugs. The fact that a decision was made, and I think most of you familiar with the broadcast of the marketing defector who went on public media to declare what happened and outline in great detail the great plan of how to destroy the black youth of the nation, starting in New York. He said in a meeting 20 miles outside of New York City, the great decision was made. He said you didn't have to guess about it, and those who heard him know that I'm quoting him almost verbatim, because he was there. And the decision was
to concentrate the distribution of drugs on the black youth of the nation, starting in New York. Starting in New York, beginning in the elementary school, and that to punish, even on the pain of death, any of the distributors who invaded the white community of a predominantly white school. In New York and other large cities were to be divided up into districts. The district commander, black, was to be given any kind of car he wanted. Mercedes, Rolls Royce, anything. Because this would be a part of the sales pitch. Because blacks just love fine cars. And you drive around through the community in this fine car. And some of it is Kia systems. And he could be identified to be known.
Well done. Now the real work can get started in the lab.
I'm not going to record the intro. But thus it began and was spread over the country. And we fell for it. Now, one thing was important. That the thing to attract the blacks, more than any other thing, more than the drug itself, but to spread the word, have a number of key young people in it, and spread the word that this is the end thing. So that'll get them. Just say it's the end thing, and they'll brave the fires of hell to be a part of the end thing.
So that's our story of the decade of struggle. We put together this film to pay particular homage and tribute to the extraordinary young people of that era. And we give the story to our young people of today in particular, in the hope that they'll stop and think about much of the negativism that they're caught up in nowadays, and try to understand why.
Colonel! I can't see anything, sir. I think it's just me off.
And jiving, they better get out of your way so you can get ahead, because bad things are coming. This auditorium should have been full right now with black folk that understand the nature of your circumstances. And obviously all the teachers, your elected officials, your ministers are shucking and jiving in Baltimore. And when I say bad times are coming, it's because we are not focusing on what we're supposed to be focusing on. You've been intentionally misled and misdirected. You've been sent down the wrong road. In the comparative and proportional terms, we are exactly where we were as black folk in this country. We're exactly where we were in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. You have not moved not one iota in 140 years. And Giant, what you're doing is enjoying the fruits of the social illusion by them telling you somehow that because you have social integration and civil rights that you have achieved something. We as black folk have achieved absolutely nothing with civil rights and integration. Any black person who got more than a third grade education should know that you had more. You had more before integration started than you got today. You've gone backwards. Now, let me give you an example, and I said comparatively speaking in 1860. On 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, in this country, you only had about 287,000 black people that were free out of almost 4.5 million. The other 4.5 million were enslaved all over America.
Only 287,000 were free. And yet, out of those 287,000 black people, they had succeeded in acquiring one half of this nation's wealth. One half of 1% of the nation's wealth. With only 287,000 free. Now here we are, 140 years later, in the richest nation on earth. 140 years later, you still own and control one half of 1% of this nation's wealth. And contrary to what people keep telling you, to a lot of civil rights leaders, civil rights and integration does not decide equal opportunity for you. You cannot get equality through
disconnected. You are now paired. Enjoy.
Alright, y'all. I'm out this motherfucker. Black Panther 5682. If you liked the video and you want to see more, hit that like button. Subscribe for more videos. Make sure you ring that bell so you let me know when I'm down and do it again. Till next time. Peace. Hand grease. Yeah.